Hi friends, good morning to all of you. A warm welcome. This is Ajay Shankar and you are learning Angular 6 step by step from beginner to advanced. Well, you're watching this video over my YouTube channel called Learn Now. Please do subscribe to this channel in order to get the notification for my further most videos. Well, so far in this course, what we have done is we have gone through with the what part of Angular and why part. In what we have seen what is Angular and its architecture, and in why part I have gone through with all the points which will make you understand that why this Angular is so important for programming world. Well, in how part we have gone through with the environmental setup, project setup for the Angular, and we have gone through with the bootstrapping of the application. If you have not gone through with the previous videos, please go through with that because that is very important to set the context. But in this video, I'm very excited because we are just one step short toward the hands-on on Angular. Well, as I said, I'm very excited, so let's just get started. Before starting with the component programming, just quickly get a brief up of what we did so far. As I already mentioned in the bootstrapping that you will be having one bootstrap or startup file, you will be having one default module file, one default component file, and one index page. So in any CLI seed project, your main.ts will be your startup file. Of course, you can change it later if you want to. You will be having one app.module.ts file as a default module file. You will be having a app.component.ts file as a default component file, and you will be having a index.html as an index page. Well, this is what you get in any of these CLI seed project, but if you wish to change, you can do it very easily. So let's start then. Let's open our Visual Studio Code editor, which we already downloaded. Let's open our project also, which I already opened, what we set up at the time of project setup in Angular, right? So you can see my app.component file is open. So this is a component file. As I already told you, your component file will be a composition of at least one class file and one HTML that you already can see. This is your HTML file, this is your template file, I mean to say, and this is your class, right? So in TypeScript, if you see, everything is basically a class. So you can change the behavior of a class by adding a decorator. What I'm trying to say over here is your component, if you remove this part, if you just simply delete it, so you can see your component, right? It's nothing but a class. You can see app component. Before app component you have written a class. So this is a simple class. This class will become a component when you add a decorator called component. So in order to do so, you need to add a decorator, right, called component. But how are you going to get that decorator component? So in order to get the decorator component, you need to basically import it. It's very simple, just like in .NET and Java or in C++. If you want to use a functionality, you need to include, or you need to use, or you need to import it from the header files or namespaces, right? In the same way, we are basically importing decorator from the header files. So I undo this and I keep it like this, right? Let's keep it at the bottom. So let's not focus on this part, whatever I commented, just be on this part. So we have imported first of all a component decorator from Angular-core. So Angular core is a header file from where I imported the component, and now in order to turn my class into a component, I am switching it with the decorator. So I'm putting this component over here, component decorator over here at top of the class, and now my class became a component. But this component expects some metadata, some object, right? So it expects an object. So let me fire an object inside it. So now we have object inside a component, a metadata inside a component. So this metadata expects few properties, right? So what are the properties we need to have? At least two properties we need to have. One is the selector and one is the template URL. That means our HTML page, which is our HTML page. So what I do is I put selector, right? You can see the IntelliSense it is giving automatically. What is my selector name? This is where I can change my selector name. Previously it was written app-root, but now I can change it to anything. Well, that also I'll do it later, but as of now let's keep it to the basic, right? And let's not do any fancy stuff. So one is the selector, that is the important metadata, important property that component metadata expect, and then we can have our template URL. So my template URL, which is written at the bottom, you can see I can copy from here, or I can copy the entire stuff from here and paste it over there. Right? These are two bare minimum things that metadata of component expect. One is a selector, second is a template URL. Now you can see your class has become a component. Otherwise, if you remove it, right, as I did previously, it was nothing but a simple class. Right? I hope you understood this much, and we can proceed further. If you do have any question, please do mention your query in the comment section, right, regarding this video or any of the topic in this video. So now let's extend the component programming, and in the meanwhile you will see a TypeScript programming as well. Guys, as I already mentioned in the previous session or previous video, that your Angular is built completely in TypeScript. So whatever you're doing, whatever code you're writing, it's pure TypeScript only. So if you see the very first thing in the class, you've seen a title is written over here. Title is nothing but a property. If I ask you what is the definition of a class, so you all will say a class which is a collection of attributes and behavior. That means in a class you will find attributes like object, like list, like array, like variables, correct? They all are called attributes. And behaviors means functionality. So this is exactly what we see in the component programming, because a component is a collection of a class and a view, a template, a HTML, correct? So two necessary things you will find in a component. So that is what we are watching on the screen. So I am working inside a class, correct? And let me set the context of a class. So in a class, what you see is, in a class you will see a variable, right? Variable or property. What else? You will see an object, correct? What else? You will see an array. You will see a list. List is nothing but a collection of object. You can say array of object, in a simpler term, array of object, array of objects. And then finally what you see is behaviors, means functions, correct? So in this video I will be going through with each and every aspect of class in order to portray a complete picture of a component class. Then we'll see how we can bind all these properties, objects, array, list, function from our class to our HTML. Well, once this is done, we will be completing one part of component programming, that is property binding. So first we are going to see a complete class structure in a component, then we jump on the property binding, and finally we achieve the event binding. With this way, a complete picture of component will be presented, will be portrayed in front of you. Well, I hope you understood till now whatever we have discussed. And again I said, if you have any question, please do write in the comment section. Let's jump on the variable. So if you see, in any class we have variable, we have property. So do we have in a class of TypeScript? Yes, we do have. So let's take one variable. So I'm taking a variable called name. So I took a variable called name, and I'm defining its data type, which is string. So just like in any programming language, you have multiple data types. Like in C#, Java, you will see you have string, number, double, int, integer, long, correct? I mean, in C# or Java, we have even the segregation called value types, reference types. So I mean, what I'm trying to portray is you have a huge range of data type. On the similar note, in TypeScript also you will find that you have a wide range of data type, right? At least all the essential ones are already there. Let's see all of them. So I have name, which is of string type. I am passing a value to it. For example, I've written Angular, right? Then I have one more variable. Let me have one more variable called version. So it's a variable which is of number type, correct? And I pass version 6. Then I have a variable called isActive, which is of Boolean type. So guys, are you getting it? If you see, I mean, unlike JavaScript where we have limited number of data type, here you have a conventional data type what you see in your C++, in your C#, in your C, in your Java, correct? In your server-side programming language, you'll see all those kind of data types you are having in this TypeScript. So let's continue on this. So isActive Boolean, I say it is false. Oh, I say it is true. So it's a Boolean type of data type. What else we can take? Let's take a cost. So I put cost as, I said, 300, right? Of course, I need to define is data type, which is like this. Correct? So you can see these are the set of my variables, my property, which I mentioned in the class. Now, once I declare the variable, once I mention the variable, obviously I need to show its value on the screen. I need to show these values on the HTML, which we called a property binding. Shifting a data from class to an HTML or binding a data from a class to an HTML is called property binding. Let's see this property binding. So what I'm doing is, let me open my HTML page. What is my HTML page? That is app.component.html. I'm opening that one. Let me split the window. So I did that in two half. So you can see at right hand side I have HTML and at left hand side I have my component.ts file, I mean my component file. Let me close this Solution Explorer. So it is closed, right? And let me open my terminal as well. So my command prompt is running. You can see ng-serve command is running. So in the previous session we have seen ng command. Let me just kill the server and start it again for you. So CLS clear screen. So ng-serve. So this ng-serve will be running the whole process in watch mode. So that means whatever change I do in my code, in my class, in my HTML, wherever I do any code change in my project, it is going to detect that change and rebuild my project again and show the output on the browser, right? So till the time it is running, doing the compilation, let us complete our programming. So I did the half part only, correct? The rest half is binding these properties into HTML. Then our property binding concept will be clear, will be done. So what I'm doing is, whatever has been there, I mean whatever has been there in a seed project, I'm removing all of them, right? And I am setting a placeholder, I am setting a interpolant, I am setting up curly braces, I'm setting elements for these properties. So let's see how. So I put h1 tag, and there in the curly braces I will write name. Fair enough. What is next? I'm setting h1 tag, h2 tag, putting a curly braces and writing version, right? Then I am setting h3 tag, curly braces, isActive. So it is case sensitive, guys. So if you misspell it, obviously, or you write a different case, you will see there will be an error, or the value will not get replaced on the screen. So cost. So now if I save it, since my browser is all, since my command prompt is already running in watch mode, so you will see whatever I written over here, it got reflected on the screen, right? So now you see this is a complete picture of property binding. Here what we have done is, we have declared few properties, we have declared through a few variables over here, and now these variables we have passed it over HTML, we have binded it in the HTML. This is what we say property binding, right? So name we have declared name over here, and we have name in this curly braces. So this curly braces is called interpolant. We have version variable declare here, and we are having we pass version over here in HTML. Same with isActive and with the cost. So these curly braces, as I said, it is called interpolant. Interpolant are nothing but the technical name of placeholder. Again, this is not the new thing for you. All Java, .NET guys, C++, C guys also knew about it. This is nothing but a placeholder. In C# we used to put the curly braces to hold the place of the variable so that variable's value can sit over there. Similarly, in C also you used to write %I, D, C, A, right? Correct? So in different languages we do have this placeholder concept. So similarly in Angular also we have this concept, right, called interpolate, but it is nothing but a placeholder which is holding a place of name variable, version variable, is active variable, cost variable, right? This is now a clear picture of your property binding, which you can see where we declare a few properties. It is now binded on the HTML. Well, on this note, we have done with the variables and properties, right, in the class. Now in the next slide what we see is how we can bind an object of a class into an HTML. That also will be a part of property binding only, but in real programming, you will see variable binding, you will see property binding, you will see array binding, you will require a list binding as well, and finally you will be writing lot of functions in your component or in your class. So next slide we'll see that one. Well, last slide what we have seen is how properties, how variable works inside a component class. Well, in this slide what we're going to see is how object work in component class. Well, let's start the practical. So as far as object is concerned, what you need to do is, it's a simple way of writing an object, no fancy stuff. You write an object, you create an object like course and then define its type, that you do for any object when you create in your server-side language like Java and .NET. Right? So as of now I don't know which kind of object or which type of object it is. The course is it is. So what I'm doing is I'm passing it as any. So any stands for any kind of object. It is a data type which is there in TypeScript. So if you don't know the type of object, you don't know the type of variable or property, that is what you can paste. So at runtime it will check, or it will check the values, and as per the value it will assign, or it will make that type of object or variable. For example, if you see my previous example where variable and property I've shown, so I've shown name :string equals to Angular. So I decided that name is my string kind of variable, version is my number kind of variable, is active is boolean kind of variable, and cost is number type of variable. So even if I don't declare the types, even if I don't put string, number, boolean and string, so in that case also by passing the value my variable will become of that type. So for instance, if I don't put string, if I don't declare name of string type, right, in that case what has happened is, if I simply say name equals to Angular, which I'm going to do it now, if I simply say name equals to Angular, so by doing that also my name will become a string type, right? If I say CName equals to Angular, so you can say by having that value my Angular will convert my CName variable as of string type. Same thing goes with the version. If I just simply say my version equals to 8, so now my version variable or my version property is of number type, right? So let's undo this, or let me just comment this one. It'll be good if you have it on the video recorded, right? So let's get back to our course object. So let's start with this one. So I declare that course is of any type. I don't know the type of it yet, so I said any type, and then I'm creating a structure of my course object, and I'm specifying, like say CName equals to, I say Angular, right, Angular 7 for example, and then the next thing which I specify in my mistake, it should be colon instead of equal to, and then I'm saying cost, which is of, let's say 300, and then I specify is active. So what I'm doing is, if you can see, I am basically creating an object of all those loose properties which I've declared in the start, right? So is active, I'm passing it as true, and then I'm saying version, version I specify as, let's say 8, 7, right? For Angular, for course CName I'm saying just Angular, correct? So this is my object. My object is ready. My object is of any type. I don't know the type of it. It may be of some class type, which we'll do it later, of course. As of now, I don't know the type of it, so I specify any, right? I guess you understood this concept of any type, right? Now in my object I have few properties like CName, cost, is active, and version. So point is, my object is absolutely populated with the data and it is ready to get binded on the HTML. So well, let's see how it can be done. So what I'm doing is, I'm going to my HTML and there I will specify, let me put a line break first of all, and then I specify object in class, right? So previous heading was, let me just put that one as well. So previous heading was h1 tag with variables properties in class, right? Fair enough. Okay, and here now we start printing the object. I guess by now you already got an idea like how I'm going to print the value of an object. If no, well, let's see on the screen. So let me quickly add a table. We all are aware of basic table in HTML, so I guess no confusion that I'm taking it very simple, so that everything is I'm taking all simple HTML tags, no fancy stuff, no extra CSS. I wanted to make it as simple as possible since it is a basic concept, so it should be clear first, and then you can make it any you can add any fancy stuff after that. So a table contain TRs, table rows, and then it has some TDs. So my table is having, my table is supposed to have 4 rows. First is for the course name, so I say course, and then I should have a curly braces. So what is my object name? My object name is course. So course dot, I say CName, right? That's how I will be able to bind my CName of my course object onto HTML. So well, the same step I need to do it again and again for at least 3 more times. So instead of course, I say it's cost, and then inside this as well we say course.cost, and then I have is active, right? And here also I need to say is active. Then what else is pending? Yeah, version. So I say version, and then I specify the version property, right, of course object. So all done. So let me save it and let me see. Yeah, so you can see it is printing on the screen, correct? So that is how object binding is done. Well, I ask you one question, guys. Isn't it awesome? See the way Angular is binding the object, the properties, variables. It's a very simpler way, it's a very easy way, it's very neat and clean approach, where Angular from class you are creating an object, variable, properties, and you're very easily binding it over the HTML, correct? So well, that is the beauty of Angular framework. In next slide what we see is how array or list or functions will work. So in last slide what we have seen is how variables, properties, object work in component class. Well, in this slide our target is to start the array and the list of array. Let's see how a list or an array works with component class. Well, for that I need to introduce directives to you. We have already seen the gist of directive in the previous videos, but this is the right time to give a elaborated definition for directives. Well, as I said before, directives are nothing but the kind of functionality which they inject into any element of HTML where they have introduced. For example, if you add a directive in a div, then whatever functionality is associated to the directive or whatever functionality the directive contains, it is going to inject that functionality into the div. Let's take a real-time example to understand directive. If you see, I want to print an array on my HTML. So let's first of all declare an array, then we see how we can print that array on HTML. Well, let's get started with an array. So I am basically declaring an array called course array, which is of string type, right? Since it is an array, so I need to put a square bracket. That's a same declaration what you have in your .NET and Java. Equals to, I want to specify the array value over here. So I say Angular 1, and similar kind of values I'm expecting for further elements as well. So far we have Angular 2, then we have Angular 4th version, we have Angular 5, Angular 6, Angular 7 is ready to come in the market. Let me add one more. I say Node.js, right? We say mean stack, and I guess that's it. Saved it. So I declared a course array which is of string type, and I specify the value as well, right? Now let's see how we're going to present this array on the HTML. Now if I ask you a question that I wanted to print an array, right, what functionality, what control statement would you like to bring in the HTML? So the simple answer would be a for loop or a loop, right? Any kind of loop you need to iterate through an array and print all the elements on the HTML. Well, in order to do so, we already have a list of directives. That is where your directives will come into picture. Whenever you need any predefined kind of functionality, you have a directive for that particular functionality in Angular. Whenever you required any sort of predefined functionality, you have a directive in the list of Angular. That's the beauty of Angular. It has covered almost all the functionality with the help of directives, inbuilt directives. And whenever you feel short of any directive, correct, at that time you can create your own custom directive. In case, for example, you wanted to have a directive, you wanted to have a functionality which is not present in the form of directive in Angular. In that case, you can create your own custom directive and bring that functionality into picture. As I said in the first session itself, that is the beauty of a framework, specifically Angular framework. It gives you a library of all the inbuilt functions. At the same time, it allows you to create your own custom functionality as well. Well, now let's come back to our example and see how we can print this array on the HTML. As I said, I need some looping mechanism to print all the elements of this array. So let's see our first directive, Ng4, how it is going to work in HTML. Let's check that. So what I do is I'll just minimize this table. I put one more HR tag, line tag. I will paste one h1 tag and say array in class, right? Now what I'm supposed to do is I need to have one ULLI. You all know, again I'm taking a very simple basic HTML, ULLI. You all know ULLI is nothing but to print the unordered list, right? So now here what you need to do is I need to print li multiple times dynamically. One way is I can specify the data and put li, I copy paste the li multiple times, but that is not the case in real-time scenario, right? In my current scenario or any real-time scenario, what I want is I want a looping mechanism which will iterate through each and every element of an array and print it over the screen. So as I said, for that we have a Ng4 directive. Let's see how we can use that Ng4 directive in li and try to generate li multiple times. Well, this is the functionality of your Ng4 directive. As I said, every directive will come up with some functionality that it is going to inject in an HTML element. Here Ng4 is that directive which is going to inject its looping mechanism, looping functionality into li. Let's see how. So I say Ng4 asterisk Ng4 equals to, now I'm starting my loop. So I'm saying let course, it is nothing but an iterator. You often know this iterator like I. Remember all the for loops given in the basic books, right? Where they say int I equals to 0, I less than 5, 6, or whatever condition you have, and then I plus plus. So have you ever wondered what is that I? That I is nothing but an iterator, which is going to iterate through each and every item in a list. Same thing you have in your for each loop also in your .NET and Java. For each loop, it is going to run for each and every item. So it's all, you know, come on the same page. It's all same thing, right? So here also it's the same thing. Let is nothing but the way we create a local variable. In C#, .NET, Java, we have var, int, string to create local variable. Here in Angular, specifically in TypeScript, we use let variable to create a local variable. So I'm creating a local variable I, that is nothing but an iterator, as I said, I of what is my array name, that is course array. So what does that say is I is going to iterate through each and every element of my course array, and when it will be doing that, at that time I wanted to print the value of I. Again curly braces, interpolate a placeholder to hold the value of I. So I say I. So I is the best iterator I have, best element, or you can say a condition I have here, which will be having an value of each and every element when it will be going through with a course array. And while it will be going through an array, I need the value, so I'm printing it. Correct? So let's save it and see, is it printing it or not? I mean, am I getting those values over the HTML or not? Again, this is still a property binding. We have not touched event binding yet. So let's go to our command prompt and say ng-serve. So this ng-serve will trigger it. Let's wait for it. So compilation has been done, completed. So let me just refresh it. And what you can see at the bottom is hold on. Just a second. What I do is I'll make it as full screen, and so you can see at rightmost corner, right bottommost corner, you will see all the array, all the elements of an array has been printed. You can see Angular 1, 2, 4, 6, 7, Node.js, mean stack, whatever you mention in that array, it all got printed over here, right? So if I show you the inspect element of this as well, so you will see, just a second. So I press F12 to open the browser in inspect element in developer tool, right? Developer mode. So by pressing F12 or just by right clicking and say inspect element, this developer mode will open, and here you can see what exactly is happening to your DOM. DOM means document object model, nothing but your HTML page. What is happening, what is happening, what is there in your page, you will see all those things in inspect element. So app root is there. Under app root, where my actually story starts, so app root, I have all these things, you can see, right? And then if you go at the bottom, you have your UL li list, and there you can see how neat and clean the code is. There is no unnecessary tags or attributes attached when we do programming in Angular 2 onwards, right? So you have simple UL tag, li tag, right? And it is printing absolutely neat and clean code as well. So done. Now let's see how we're going to print a list. Correct? So when it comes to a list, we all know that list is nothing but a collection of objects, that belongs to a particular type. As I said, so far we have not set any kind of class type, so I still go with any, right? Let me show you how I can have a list of object in my in my component class, and then finally how I'm going to print it over the HTML. Correct? With these two examples, list and array, you will get to know the complete picture of class programming or attribute binding. Then what will be left is your behaviors. When we'll end with this list example, we will be done with all the attributes which supposed to be there in a class. So next is a list. What is a list? List is nothing but the collection of objects. Just like I have a course object, if I have the multiple course objects in an array, I will say that array is nothing but a list. So again, a list is nothing but a collection of objects. So let's see practically how we declare a list and then how we print it over the HTML. So I'm creating a list, say courses or course list, which is of any type. I don't know the type of it yet, and then I'm declaring all the objects in that list or course list, right? So the first object that I'm going to print, let me have the same object structure what I've created for the object example. So I'm copying it from here and pasting it in my list. So I have my first object ready. Yeah, now it's ready. Like this, I wanted to have multiple items. As I said, a list is nothing but the collection of objects. So like this, let me have at least 5-6 items, 5-6 objects to be precise, where I say Angular 1, Angular 2, then we go to Angular 3. Oh, sorry, 3 didn't release. And we have 5, we have 6, 7 is about to come in the market, as I said before, and then one more, let's say Node.js, and let's have one more, say mean stack. And let's change the value as well. I start from, let's say 700. This is going to be 600, 500, 400, 300. Yeah, it's already 300. Then 200, 100, 150, then 100. In this case, version is 1. Let's quickly change the value to. So my list is completed. So you can see I have added all the items in this list. So I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 items in my list, right? I've added all the objects in my list. So this is a perfect example of your list. A list which is nothing but a collection of objects, right? When we see a type-based programming, then we will put a type, a kind of type. Type means a class. Then we map this course list with a type, with a particular class type. Let's say course class type. So that we see in the later part of the course. As of now, I don't know the type of this list, so I put it as any, right? Very simple, very straightforward. Let's see how we can bind the same list over the HTML. Well, to do so, as you all know, I need again a looping mechanism, correct? So let's quickly bring that one. And for that looping mechanism, I already have a directive called Ng4. So let's try to use it. I again put a line break over here, and then I say h1 tag and say list in class, right? Now here I need rows and column structure, so I am using a table tr. This table tr will have all the headings. Th means table heading or row heading. So I say course, and likewise what I have is I have further columns like cost is active and version. So let me quickly do it. So I say cost, the next is active, and then finally a version. Correct? That is going to be my heading. And now next thing I need to do is the row, which is going to iterate through that next thing is a row which is going to be multiply, which is going to print dynamically, which is going to generate dynamically multiple time till we have any element left in course list. So let's see how it's going to happen. So I will put asterisk Ng4 array, Ng4 directive, and declare my let variable, local variable over here. So I say let, I say course or item. Item is just an iterator, it's just a name. You can put any name for your iterator. In the previous example I have seen I. You can take item, you can take course, you can take your name as well. That doesn't matter, right? Of what matters is this, the list, the array, the name has to be dead right. Correct? So now my item is an iterator which is going to iterate through each and every item inside course list, or each and every object inside course list. Correct? And when it will be doing so, that is the best time to take all the values and print it over here. So I say when my item will be at first position or 0 position, then I say item dot cname, and hence I will be able to print my course name over here. Similarly, I need to print other properties as well. So I say cname, cost, then is active, right, and then finally you have version. Done. Let's save it and see is it happening or not. Let's refresh our browser. So browser got refresh, and you can see the whole list got printed on the screen. Can you see at your right hand side, guys? Yeah. So you can see course where Angular 1, 2, 4, 6, 5, 7, Node.js mean stack with all the cost, the status active, inactive, and the version is printed on the screen. So on this note, let me ask you one question. Isn't it awesome, guys? If you see your server-side programming, or even if you see your jQuery also, or any front-end library also, have you seen any kind of simple, straightforward property binding in any of the framework? The answer is no. That is the beauty of Angular. It has a minimal set of code. It gives you all the inbuilt functionality. All you have to do is you hook your data source, which can be an object, which can be a variable, which can be a list. You just need to hand it over the data source to your directive, and your directive will do the rest, right? So that's all we have in the list. Let's now jump on the behavior programming of component class. So far it went very well. I was able to explain you each and every part of your component programming, component class programming, where I've covered variables, attributes, properties, which is one and the same thing. I've showed you array, object, and a list. We are at the last stage of our component class programming, which is behaviors. Let's see few of the behaviors, how we can add functions, trigger it through event programming, have some events on our HTML page, and then see how the entire flow goes, right? Let's get started with that one as well. So let me have a event, a function in my TS file, in my class file, in my component class file, and then we'll see how I can trigger that user defined function which is there in my class from HTML. That is where we will complete the event binding. So far what we have seen is the property binding, and with this example we will be done with our event binding. So let's see that. So I am writing a function, let's say click me, that is my function, and it is returning nothing, so I pass void. So that also you know that if a function returns something, you need to specify the data type. If it does not specify anything, that you need to specify the void. So as you can see in this function, I'm not returning anything, so I'm putting it as void. So its return type is void, it is not returning anything. And then followed by the function curly braces. And one thing I missed, that is parenthesis. So function, then its return type, correct, and then curly braces, so that we can specify the functionality. So what I wanted to do is, I simply wanted to have an alert, say hi, you clicked me, right? That's it. And now what we want is, we have our function ready, and what we want is, we wanted to attach this function to an event. Let's trigger, or let's set an event in HTML. So to do so, what I need to do is, again I'll put a HR line break and start functions in class, right? Okay, now what exactly I need to trigger this user defined function? Of course, an event. Which event? I can specify any event, but point is here, to be simple, I want a click event. I can go for mouse over, mouse out, blur, focus, all kind of events are there, key press. There are n number of list of events that Angular support, that we have in HTML also. But so far, as of now, what I do is, I will attach only a click event, so that, it will be a simple example. Then we make this example more complex. So I will take a button. So here I say please click, that is a text, and here you are going to see a second directive of this tutorial, that is a click directive. So as I said, whatever is the functionality that you are expecting, Angular is having a directive for it. So here I wanted to have a click functionality, click event. So Angular is having a click directive in its list. So I will use a parenthesis to trigger a click directive. So I say click, where I say equals to, I will attach my user defined function click me here, like this, right? So now what happened is, I've added a click directive, I have triggered a user defined function there on the click event, and once the button will be clicked, my pointer will go to my click function, which is there in the class, component class, and whatever code is written inside that is going to get executed, right? Let's see a practical demonstration of it. So all set, the browser is also refresh. Let's scroll down, and you can see we have a click event, right? We have a button with please click me text on it. So when I click on this button, you see alert, an alert is triggered, hi, you clicked me, right? How simple it is now, you see, to add an event and trigger a user defined function from it. Well, this is a simple example of your click directive, your event binding. Let's make it a little more complex and try to see a real case scenario. In that, what I wanted to do is, okay, I will not touch the existing example, and instead of that, what I do is, I'll take one more button. So line break, and I say one more button should be there, where I say pass click and pass the name. That is the name of my button, and here again I'm passing a click event or click directive. I'm calling a click directive, adding a user defined function over here, which I have not specified yet. Let's see. Let's first of all finish the HTML part, then we jump on the TS class file. So in the click directive, I'm specifying a user defined function, that is let's say on click pass name. That is my user defined function, and I'm passing a user defined name, that is Ajay Shankar, right? So as I said, I have I have created a directive, I have added a directive, I have added a user defined function also to it, but I need to declare this function in my TS file as well. So let's see how we can do that. So I will go at the bottom and create that function, copy and paste. My function is not returning anything, so I pass void and then followed by curly braces, and here I simply put an alert, say hi, you clicked me. Okay, so now my function is expecting an input parameter. So let me add an input parameter and hook that input parameter into an alert. So I'm expecting, let's say, a name. Just create a variable. This is also the same C++, C#, or Java, programming, function programming, where you're calling a function which is expecting an input parameter, you're passing it, and then you're using it. So I passed it from my HTML. My TS file, my class file is expecting some input. So I passed a variable and I say this is of string type, like this. This is of string type, and now I can specify this variable. I can hook this variable in an alert statement like this. So what is the message that it's going to print is, hi, you clicked me, Ajay Shankar, like that, right? Let's see, is it happening or not? I saved it, and now we refresh the browser. Okay, my HTML is also not saved, so let me save that as well. So now you can see I got two buttons, right? So on the first button I still have hi, you clicked me, and at the second button when I click, it says hi, you clicked me, Ajay Shankar. So this is a little more complex example where I pass a parameter to my function and I'm able to get it in my TS file. Let's take a final example for behavior programming in your component class, right, in order to complete this topic once and for all. Well, for that, let's take an example where what I want is when user will click on any of the row of this course list, he or she should be able to see the complete course info. Well, let's see how we can do that. So for that, what I wanted to do is, let me just minimize first of all of them, and what I want is I want to declare a variable, an object variable. So I've already created one object, course object, which is of any type. As of now it is empty, no value is defined, as of now. I'm going to pass the value on the fly. Let's see, is it happening or not. So I'm having a course object, as I said, which is of any type, and let me have a function also done here where I say get course info. This is user defined function. It is returning nothing, and this is expecting an object. I simply say obj, which is again of any type. It will expect an object, a complete course object. As I said, I don't have a type set for my course object, so I pass it any. So now whatever object is passed to this course, I wanted to assign that to my course object variable. Sorry, not this one. Course object variable, right? I simply say obj. That's it. That is all what I wanted. And now my TS work is done. Now I jump on my HTML example. In my HTML, what I want is I wanted to associate a click event, a click directive with a tr of table. Why this tr of a table? Because this tr is going to generate dynamically multiple times till the last element in the course list array. So for every tr, I wanted to have one click directive, so that whenever I click on any of the row, what will happen is that particular row information I will be able to pass in a function, right? And that will trigger that get course info function from the class and show all the information. Let's see how practically it is going to happen. So what I'm doing is I am in the TR, I am adding one click event, parenthesis, click equals to, I will copy paste this function name, get course info, right? Parenthesis open close, and what I need to pass is, see how simple it is. All I need to pass is the item. Why item? Because item is the one which is an iterator. It is going to iterate through each and every item in course list array or course list basically, and as and when you reach, you click on any of the row, that particular item is going to pass in this get course info method with the help of click event. Once this item is passed in the function in the class where the actual definition has been written, it will expect an object, it will receive an object and pass the whole object to my this.course variable, this.course object. Now all I need to do is, once my this.object is populated with the data, all I need to do is I need to print that value on the screen, which I'm going to do now. So here let me have a quick table structure. What I do is I will copy, not required. I will use the quick table structure from here, paste it at the bottom, and instead of course.cname or course.cost or course.isActive, what I will take is I will take my course object. It's very simple, right? Like this. So now I have a table structure where I am printing all the property values of my course object. How my course object got populated? It got populated with the help of object variable, which we pass in get course info. Let's see the output of it, how it works. So if you see on your right hand side on the screen browser, you can see already the course, cost, is active, version already is written, and it is waiting for you to click on the item in the list. So let's say if I click on Angular 5 row, so you can see that value got printed. If you click on Node.js, that value got printed. If you click on mean stack, you can see that value got printed. So how this is happening? So in one shot we'll see the flow one more time. When you are clicking on any of the item, what is happening is the respective object, item object, is passing to get course info. When it is passing to get course info, in your class get course info is passing that same object back to your course object, and finally your course object is getting printed on the table, on the screen, on the HTML, with the help of property binding. So you can see this whole flow contains the event binding and property binding. I hope you understood the complete picture of component class. I hope this will give you a fair idea that how basically a class works in Angular. That's it, friends. That's all we have in this session. Thank you so much for watching this video. You are watching this video over my YouTube channel called Learn Now. Please do subscribe to my channel in order to get the notification for further more videos. Well, we will meet again. In next session, we'll talk about directive in complete end-to-end manner. We will see almost all important directives what we have in Angular, and we'll see it practically how it works and where it fit to an application.